David Placek. Welcome to the Montclair Pod.
Thank you.
This is the part where you say, I'm so happy.
I'm so happy to be back.
You kicked us off, if you recall.
Yeah, no, I know.
This time last year, roundabout. So we thought it'd be a great place to start is like a look back. You know, when we talked, I think it was January 2025, the vision was there, but so much was still TBD. And walk us through as if we were actually at Lackawanna right now. Walk us through it to talk about the new and changes.
Yeah, lots happened in the last year. So we, I guess, opened Lackawanna in June of 2025 with 23 small businesses from the surrounding community, a lot of them in Montclair that had been priced out of Montclair or just didn't have the resources to ever open in Montclair because it's very expensive to open a business anywhere. In Montclair in particular, real estate rental rates for retail are incredibly high as well. I think we hit one or two rents in the downtown area that are over $100 a square foot. You have a $100,000 rent if you have a 1,000 square foot store. That's a lot. So we're really excited by that. The rec room opened. That's a co-working facility that is housed at Lackawanna. We have the little shops, which we're really proud of. So that is smaller retail shops that are 150 to 400 square feet in size with flat monthly rents and short-term commitments. So if you're a budding entrepreneur or a weekend side hustler, you know, we've learned a lot about that over the last year, and we're going to do a flea market a month rather than trying to host more flea markets, make it once a month, change the themes of the markets throughout various months. And then we've hosted a number of one-off events as well, right? We had ToyCon in September of 2025. We have a card collectible show coming in March of 2026 and subsequent months as well. We're working on some other really fun and interesting events and activations in the space. Pizza Fest is coming to Lackawanna June 20th. The World Cup is coming to Lackawanna June 11th to July 19th.
How much are those tickets? Ask you for a friend.
It's pretty expensive. We're going to charge $0 for admission to the World Cup, fan festivities at Lackawanna. Burgers, donuts, and potatoes. I'd be remiss not to plug and mention them. Some savvy people in Montclair have realized that burgers, donuts, and potatoes is the same acronym as BDP, such as BDP Holdings. But that concept's simple. I'm from Southern California. Full transparency. I grew up with In-N-Out Burger, and it's great food and it's not expensive, right? You can get an In-N-Out Burger for, I think it's $3.85 today. Back then, it was even cheaper. We don't have that out here, right? Food's expensive. We're seeing it. We lost Pineapple Express at Lackawanna. We're going to have another restaurant backfill them pretty soon. But I wanted a great burger that wasn't going to set us back like $100 for a family of 5 to go get burgers and fries. So burgers, donuts, and potatoes is our representation of really good food that's simple, that's inexpensive. And last but not least, the art.
Pickleball.
Oh yeah, and pickleball.
Hello.
Last but not least, pickleball. And the art. I don't want to hold out the art. Montclair is an arts community. We have artists that live here. We have artists that are creating art every day. We have the art museum. Lackawanna Plaza is a different forum for art, a different venue for art. We have a ton of muralists, local and from all over the world, that have painted inside Lackawanna. We have other forms of art that are in there with sculpture. We have the Skyline exhibit, which is on loan to us from the School of Visual Arts. So come check out the art. And then we have pickleball. So pickleball opened in January. There's 2 courts in the back of the big room at Lackawanna. Montclair Pickleball runs that. Montclair Pickleball has been around for a while without a location in Montclair. The people who started it from Montclair, hence the name, they're very excited to finally have a location in Montclair. Ironbound Farm Market, they are there, another Montclair-based business, really bringing the notion of like local, real food to the table is what their premise is. So you're getting food from the farms locally in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and the surrounding area at their store. And the food's great. I recommend the sourdough bread.
All of that, you've done so much creative stuff there, but all of it was yet kind of you were forced to be creative because obviously was not the original idea. There's a real development on the table. Not that we haven't done real stuff here, and we've had some movement kind of on that of late. So can you update the community on where we are now with the redevelopment of the property?
And what's holding it up?
Yeah, progress, but slow progress. In 2023, the township approved a redevelopment plan for Lackawanna Plaza, which really provides the guidelines for what can be built at Lackawanna Plaza. A municipality can undertake a study to prove that it meets one of these 9 criteria to show that the property is blighted and needs help to create a higher and better use for that property and incentivize development there. So you study to see if it's an area in need of redevelopment. The township of Montclair has actually studied this property multiple times over the decades, and every time realizes, yes, this is a project that needs help. It is an area in need of redevelopment. And then with that designation, the municipality can create a redevelopment plan. So the township had been working on that under the previous owners of ownership in 2015 to 2017 when Pathmark went out of business. And that never went anywhere. The developer decided to pivot and put forward a site plan application, not using redevelopment, to retrofit the existing mall and then proposed building 154 apartments in the east parking lot. When we acquired the property in 2021, we wanted to revisit redevelopment with the township because it really is what's necessary to create the best project for that site. We were fortunate enough and experienced enough to be able to acquire the adjacent TD Bank parcel, which really helped unlock that entire eastern lot for development and create a lot more potential for the overall development of the site. And the township approved a redevelopment plan that allows for up to 300 apartments across the 8-acre property and a couple 100,000 square feet of commercial space, both office and retail, with the anchor being a 30 to 50,000 square foot supermarket. So that got approved in 2023. It got reapproved or reaffirmed by the council in, I think it was May of 2024. And then we have kind of been waiting to negotiate the financial agreement and the redevelopment agreement with the township. Obviously, there's been a lot of turnover at 205 Claremont, which is Town Hall. We've had a number of municipal attorneys over the last 5 years, number of township managers over the last 5 years, and a change in council, right? In July of 2024, the council changed over. So we have had some stability for the last year or so in a lot of those areas. And we have had movement on the financial agreement and the redevelopment agreement. So a redevelopment agreement is just that, an agreement between the developer and the township outlining what's going to be done, the time frame for when it's going to be done. If it's not done by certain timeframes, the developer would be in default of that agreement and the township has remedies to fix that. Redevelopment agreement also outlines certain public benefits that the redeveloper has to include in the development, either on-site or off-site. And then there's the financial agreement, and that's the big one. The financial agreement provides the developer and the project with a pilot. Pilot's an acronym. It stands for payment in lieu of taxes. So it's a different process to determine what that payment is for the property versus going through the traditional ad valorem tax system where you have an assessment and you pay a millage rate. The pilot works differently. It's generally a percentage of revenue that the property is achieving gets paid back to the municipality as that payment in lieu of taxes. Pilots are only available to projects that are redevelopment areas. So it's one of the incentives a municipality has to create the highest and best use for that site. Typically, pilots are given to projects that, or I should say exclusively given to projects that need that type of financial assistance to make the project viable. And this is a project that has a lot of need. The township, as they should do, speaking as a resident, really put a lot of burden on the developer. We want the most out of this project that we can get. And the township has made a lot of requirements of the developer and the development of the site. And that includes preserving a lot of the historic elements on the site, keeping certain areas of the project open so you can maintain view corridors to the historic elements. The supermarket is paramount. I don't want to say that that's a burden, but in the time since Pathmark's closed, the surrounding trade area, the surrounding municipalities have been able to approve a lot of projects with supermarkets and grocery stores. So I think there's 16 now in the 2.5 mile trade area. Super Target will be opening soon in West Orange. They do a tremendous volume of grocery sales. They do delivery. They do a lot of things that are going to be, very influential in the marketplace. We have a large amount of open space that's required in this project. Almost 1.5 acres to 2 acres of the project are going to be privately funded public open space. And I've had a lot of people say, well, that's what they did at the, 2 South Willow apartment building by the Wellmont Theater. They have that plaza there. That's fantastic. It is a fantastic plaza. It used to be a public road. It wasn't private property that the developer turned into open space. That was property that township included in the deal to create that public plaza. So we're actually taking privately owned property and creating public open space over a majority of the site. I mean, almost 1/4 of the site will be open space. And an affordable housing requirement that most other developers haven't had to accommodate. So most developments in town have done 10% affordable housing, 10%. We're 20%. And then we're also doing an additional 10% of workforce housing, which to our understanding is the first of its kind in Montclair, first of its kind in New Jersey. And it'll service those who are earning 80 to 120% of the area median income. So hopefully we can have more teachers, more firefighters, more municipal workers, police officers that are able to live in Montclair that are priced out of the affordable units because they make too much. And the list continues to go on. We'll be continuing the bike lane along our property, which sounds simple. I don't think it's that simple. The township got $1 million grant from the state of New Jersey to extend the bike lane 1,000 feet or so, because you need to deal with sometimes widenings of the road. You need to deal with relocating parking spaces and things of that nature. So some people laugh and say the bike lane, you're just painting a line on the asphalt. It's not that complicated. It's a complicated and expensive process to kind of accommodate all the other changes that need to happen in order to make that bike lane possible. There's a lot of infrastructure that runs under the site that needs to be dealt with. So it's not a simple project. It's very complex. Fortunately, we also have an amazing team working on this project, a majority of which are Montclair residents. And I think that often goes unnoticed and overlooked. Obviously, we put our best foot forward on every project we work on, but when it's your hometown, you want it to be extra special. And I'm excited that a lot of these people wanted to work on a project in their town because it's not easy.
Yeah.
Not easy at all, but we've got the best in the business and very excited about the future of Lackawanna.
So with the remaining time, we have a bunch of questions, but let's do like a lightning round where you just kind of give us like your quick thoughts on each of these things, because these are kind of zingers, right? We talked a little bit about the supermarket. It's a mystery to the town.
Yeah.
People thought, oh, was it Amazon Fresh? But Amazon Fresh is going away. I know you can't tell us, but can you tell us sort of a little bit, maybe not exactly what's going in, but what's the look and feel of this place?
They're going to sell fresh meat, number one.
Okay. Fresh meat.
There was a bit of a misunderstanding in that they might not sell fresh meat, but I want to set the record straight. They will sell fresh meat.
Because of like Trader Joe's or something like that?
I don't know. I'm sad we missed out on Trader Joe's. We should have Trader Joe's in Montclair. They wanted
parking. That's the problem. Trader Joe's likes to go usually set up on a cliff with terrible parking.
They wanted to come to Montclair. So they're too small, though. They don't meet the 30,000 foot requirement. I can't say much about the grocer other than it's going to be a full service supermarket. It is going to have fresh produce, fresh meat, all the things you expect from a supermarket, it will have.
Pineapple Express, you were caught off guard. You still work with Damon Wise. Awkward?
At times. We're trying to make the best of a very awkward situation, but he's a great chef. He's a good operator. I think there were a lot of circumstances that led to the closing of Pineapple Express. Happy to say that we have been inundated with requests to backfill that space. I stopped counting after 50 And I can tell you within the first 48 hours of them posting on Instagram, we had 30 plus restaurateurs and restaurant groups that reached out to us to backfill that space.
Although when you tell them that this is a temporary space,
Yeah.
how are these restaurants reacting for the most part?
Understanding. A lot of them know that Lackawanna is going to be redeveloped. They don't know the details. They don't know the time frame. But I think having a presence in Montclair on Bloomfield Avenue with parking, with outdoor space, with a liquor license is kind of the unicorn for any restaurant operator in Montclair, the surrounding area.
Parking?
Yeah. Parking's great. It's
Is it? Isn't it?
It
People
is.
are not happy with the parking, including some of your tenants. We hear.
I hear it from them as well. Interesting thing was we heard it from them, including Pineapple Express, when you didn't have to pay for parking. The problem prior to charging for parking was there was never any available parking. And none of those people parking were going into Lackawanna or Pineapple Express. They were going up to any of the other destinations in Montclair because it was the only place in Montclair you could park for free. Free parking doesn't really exist.
So why not do like town parking where we pay, what is it, Park Mobile and,
Or do 2 hours free if you're like shopping here or something like.
Yeah, so you do get 45 minutes free.
Mhm.
We looked at the Park Mobile app. It wasn't ideal for our circumstances. We have employee parking rates that Park Mobile doesn't accommodate. We have other monthly parking rates that Park Mobile doesn't accommodate. So we were kind of forced to go with a different vendor, which is Honk Mobile, very similar, but just a different app. Parking's tough. I take it on the chin every time. It's a bit of a sensitive subject for me. You do pay to park everywhere in Montclair. I pay to park everywhere in Montclair as well. There are very few places to go where you don't pay to park. Having that payment in place has allowed customers coming to Lackawanna Plaza and our tenants to have spaces available for them. It's also cut down on the amount of crime that was happening in that parking lot when we were not charging for parking. We've had a lot of residents in the surrounding area email us, call us, thanking us for taking care of all the things that were happening in the parking lot before we implemented paid parking. So, necessary evil. Of course, it's a change. A lot of people hate things that change, especially the people that used to park there for free and go work downtown at other jobs and things of that nature. And I can certainly understand that.
On the pilot question, there's a sensibility, certainly among some of the people in the school district, that some of the pilot funds should go to the schools directly. What's your position on that?
I mean, you're not going to find many people in this town who are bigger public school advocates than the Placek family. We've been supporting public schools before our kids were old enough to be in public schools. My wife is the co-president of the Montclair Fund for Educational Excellence. We've been huge supporters of them, I think, since year one that we moved to town, which is 12 or 13 years ago now. And I'm not opposed to having pilot revenue go to the schools. The developer has no decision in that whatsoever. That's a policy decision that needs to be made by the council. I think there's a lot of misconception about pilots and school funding. You hear people often speaking, 52% of our taxes go to the schools and pilots don't fund their fair share. The way that the Board of Ed budgeting works is not that they take 52% of the tax payments people make. It's that the Board of Ed sends the town a bill for the school budget, and that gets incorporated into the tax bill. So whatever the school board needs to fund its operation, that gets covered by the tax base. The interesting thing about pilots and what makes it attractive to municipalities is the municipality gets a larger percentage of the pilot than they would typically get if it were just regular ad valorem taxes. So I think in Montclair, about a quarter of the tax bill goes to the township. Under a pilot, 95% of the pilot revenue goes to the township. 5% goes to the county. And it's a big increase in revenue for the municipality, and Montclair needs tax revenue. Costs are going up. I think we heard at the last council meeting, the health benefits for municipal employees is going up by 40% or $4 million. That's a huge increase. How does that get paid for? If Lackawanna Plaza doesn't get redeveloped, if we continue with what it is today and it pays its regular tax amount that it's paying today, the township gets $100,000. We need the money, folks, and we need more of it. I think the town seriously needs to look at other properties that can be developed responsibly, hold developers accountable for all the public benefits that the township needs to a point where the project is still viable. In Lackawanna, a lot of developers would look at it and say, we're not going to build that. We don't want to preserve the historic stuff. We don't want to do all that affordable housing. That's way too much open space. I think it really takes somebody who lives here and cares about the town to take on the risk associated with that type of a burden on a project like this. And I think the town should try to find more developers who are willing to do that, because we have great assets in town and we need more ratables. We need more tax revenue for the schools and for the municipality.
What is the biggest misconception that's out there? Where do we begin? Let's not open a can of worms, but something that you think actually really needs clarifying.
There's a lot of them. There's the easy ones. I'm a bad guy. We all subjective, right? I don't think I'm a bad guy, but maybe I rubbed someone the wrong way once or twice. I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing. That's one that I heard Tuesday night. I have no experience in doing any of this. I strongly disagree. I've been doing this since 2008. First time doing it for myself with my own company, 100%. I've never denied that or hidden that fact. I always like to relate that to an attorney who practices for a big white shoe law firm and then decides to go open his or her own practice. It doesn't mean they don't know how to practice law anymore. So Montclair's always been a township of incubation and entrepreneurship and creative risk takers, as I like to say, which is maybe why we gravitated to live in Montclair. I was the number 2 in charge of a development firm based in Southern California. People always say, show me a project you've done. You can look at their website and see it.
I think a lot of people, and we hear this, about us too. It's like there's a sensibility among some that you are not of Montclair, and who are you to come in and change it? And it's a very emotional feeling from people who take immense pride in this place and are attached to certain things and feelings and all of that stuff. I'm sure you've borne the brunt of some of that angry energy. And what do you say to those people?
I can understand it. I was not born in Montclair. I'm a Southern California native. I talk to my mom all the time, and she's telling me about all the landmarks in Mission Viejo, California, where I grew up, that have been changed. Over time, things change, and change is incredibly hard, right? I'm seeing now my kids are in middle school, and I have memories when they were in elementary school. And you can relate the physical surroundings to some of those memories that you had in the past. The environment changes, you feel sad because the nostalgia of those good days that you remember are gone. And I can wholeheartedly relate to that. I get it. I go home to Mission Viejo and it looks different. But it is a necessary evil. Things need to change. Things need to evolve. A lot of people are constantly coming into Montclair. It's been happening for 100+ years. You hear people on the streets, I guess the streets today are secret Montclair, complaining about everyone from Brooklyn coming. That complaint has been ever present for decades. Somebody forwarded me the almanac from the early 1900s, lamenting about the New Yorkers who are coming to Montclair and all the traffic they're creating. When I moved to Montclair, Bloomfield Avenue was filled with defunct car dealerships. A lot of people find that hard to believe. Montclair was the car dealership area. This is where you came to buy a new car. That's gone.
Yeah.
You would never believe.
Now it's where you come to park.
Right.
Somebody, I went to the antique store on Church, and she was like, "This was the place. This used to be all antique stores here. This was where people came to antique."
Mm-hmm.
And now they're the only ones left standing.
But I think it's important to keep that nostalgia of being able to have an antique store in your town alive. And one of the fears that I have, and honestly, one of the reasons why we decided to take on a project like Lackawanna is to keep Montclair somewhat Montclair. And it's going to look different, but I think the heart of Montclair goes back to the small businesses. What I used to love about coming to Montclair before we lived here was walking up and down and seeing all the unique shops and talking to the owners of the shops. Like, that was a great experience that you don't get in a lot of places. You're certainly not getting it at a big shopping mall. So being able to create local retail and maintain local retail, I think, is really important. That's something that will be carried through in the redevelopment of Lackawanna. And hopefully we can keep some other bits and pieces of Lackawanna in the future redevelopment as well. I think the historic preservation element is key. We acquired one of the original train cars that came in and out of Lackawanna from 1930 to the 90s. That's being restored. That'll come back to the property. So being able to have some of these like moments in time live on in the next evolution of Lackawanna, I think, is really important. And I don't think somebody from Montclair, whether they moved here 13 years ago or were born here, would do it. I think it's unique to somebody who lives here and kind of understands the history and the heritage of Montclair. And I would not rather live anywhere else.
When does Lackawanna Plaza open? The new Lackawanna Plaza.
The capital R.
This is a good one. What's the betting thing you can do these days? Kalshi or
Prediction market?
Yeah, this should be
this
on
should be
there.
a prediction market.
My gosh.
Yeah, all right.
I have no idea. I really don't.
I mean, how long will the build out take?
Best case scenario.
Oh, the build out. Yeah. So, 3 to 4 years from final approval to finish construction. I think the redevelopment agreement gives us up to 8 years to finish the project. If it takes us 8 years, we definitely did it wrong, or the markets were just really bad. But, this is a big project. There's a lot of complexity to it, as I mentioned. So it's likely 36 to 48 months for the entirety of the project. It's not all going to start at the exact same time. There'll be a little bit of a staggered start date, but 3 to 4 years, hopefully less, but
my kid's going to be graduating.
Maybe by then we'll be out of debt also in the school district. It'll be a new day in Montclair.
She said 5 years.
I know. So,
but we still got to get the approvals done. And there's a lot of misconception around that as well. People thought it was done already. I keep hearing that from a lot of people that I see. Why are we talking about Lackawanna? Isn't it done already? It's not. We're maybe at the 50-yard line. So getting the financial agreement, the pilot, and the redevelopment agreement done, next big steps. After that, hopefully it's approved on Tuesday.
All right. So you could be at the 10-yard line on Tuesday?
We probably get to the 40-yard line heading to the goal zone, like the right 40-yard line. But then we still have site plan. There's still other governmental approvals. We've got to do some things with DEP. There's some things that need to get done with the county. So, probably the remainder of 26 into 2027 for those approvals. And then we'll see, what other obstacles the world decides to throw at us on our journey to get this fully approved.
Just pile it on, y'all. Just whatever. It keeps our ratings going.
My kids want to have it done by the time they graduate high school.
All right.
That might be a stretch.
Dave Placek, thank you so much for spending all this time with us.
Thank you, guys.